There comes a moment in every life when the old ways no longer make sense, when the narratives we've been told about who we are and what we deserve begin to crumble. For some, this awakening feels like a quiet whisper, while for others, it arrives like a storm, shaking the very foundation of their beliefs. It is here, in the friction between what we were taught and what we feel deep in our bones, that the path to the inner healer begins. Healing is not something bestowed upon us by an external force, nor is it a privilege reserved for the few who seem to have mastered life's secrets. It is, and always has been, our birthright. Yet for many of us, this truth has been buried beneath layers of conditioning, fear, and a relentless pursuit of external validation. From the time we are young, we are often told that healing comes from outside ourselves. We are taught that someone or something must fix us, that we are broken, or that our wholeness lies somewhere in the future, waiting for us to earn it. But what if the greatest illusion of all is the belief that we were ever broken? What if, instead, we are simply layered with stories and unprocessed experiences, and healing is not about fixing, but about remembering who we are beneath those stories? When we begin to see that we were never fundamentally flawed, an extraordinary freedom begins to rise within us, a freedom that whispers, "You have always been enough. You have always been capable of healing yourself." In our modern world, the concept of self-healing is often misunderstood. It is not about denying the value of medicine or therapy, nor is it about isolating ourselves and rejecting help. Instead, it is about reclaiming our power, recognizing that our thoughts, emotions, and presence are potent forces that shape the reality we experience. Healing is as much an internal alignment as it is an external process. When we shift the way we see ourselves, when we align our energy with trust rather than fear, the body, mind, and spirit begin to respond in remarkable ways. Science now confirms what ancient wisdom traditions have known all along. The body has an innate intelligence, a natural capacity to regenerate, adapt, and find balance when we create the conditions for it to thrive. But creating those conditions often requires a bold step, one that asks us to let go of outdated perceptions about who we are and what we are capable of. The world has taught us to be constantly striving, achieving, and proving. We have been told that our worth is measured by what we do, how we look, or what we accumulate. Yet beneath all of this noise, the true healer within us waits quietly, asking only for our attention, our presence. To awaken this healer, we must first recognize that healing begins not in striving but in being fully here, fully present with what is, without judgment or resistance. Think for a moment. Where in your life are you still chasing something you don't believe you deserve? Where have you convinced yourself that happiness or peace is contingent on some future event? This constant chasing keeps us disconnected from the truth of who we are. Healing is not about reaching some distant destination, but about coming home to the present moment, to the quiet intelligence that already knows what we need. When we are present, we can listen to our bodies, to our intuition, to the subtle energies that guide us. Presence allows us to see the patterns and wounds that keep us stuck, and with awareness, we can begin to release them. This awakening is not always comfortable. To see the ways we have abandoned ourselves, to feel the weight of the beliefs we've carried, can be unsettling. Yet there is power in this discomfort. It is a sign that something deeper within us is stirring, something that wants to be free. It is as if life itself is asking us, will you continue to live in the story of your limitations, or will you step into the vastness of your true being? The moment we say yes to this question, yes to the possibility that we are already whole, already powerful, we ignite a process that transforms not only our inner world, but the outer reality we experience. The old perceptions begin to fall away like leaves from a tree, and we realize that healing is less about becoming something new and more about shedding what is false. It is about reclaiming the parts of ourselves we have denied and welcoming them home with compassion. When we do this, we open the door to a life of greater alignment, deeper meaning, and authentic power. This is the invitation that stands before you now, to break free from the old perceptions that have held you back, and to trust that within you lies the wisdom, the strength, and the energy to create a life of profound healing and transformation. You are not waiting for someone to rescue you. You are awakening to the healer you have always been. The concept of presence is far more than a vague spiritual idea. It is the very fabric from which reality unfolds. When we truly understand presence, we begin to see that it is not simply about paying attention or being mindful. It is about recognizing that the moment we inhabit, the now, is the only place where life actually exists. The past is a collection of memories filtered through our interpretations, and the future is a field of possibilities waiting to be shaped. Presence is the gateway through which these possibilities are formed into reality. Imagine for a moment that your attention is like a beam of light in a dark room. Wherever you direct this beam, the objects within its reach come into focus. Similarly, your presence illuminates certain aspects of reality while leaving others in the shadows. Quantum physics suggests that at the smallest level of existence, particles exist in a state of potential until observed, collapsing into a fixed form when consciousness interacts with them. In a way, your life is no different. The energy you give to certain thoughts, emotions, and intentions is like a spotlight, bringing those possibilities into tangible form. What you focus on becomes your reality. We have all experienced moments when our attention has been scattered, when we're physically in one place but mentally lost in the noise of endless thoughts and worries. In these moments, our power is diluted, our inner healer asleep. But when we anchor ourselves in presence, something profound occurs. We collapse all the scattered potentialities into a single powerful stream of awareness. We become the conscious creators of our lives, rather than passive bystanders swept away by habitual patterns. Consider how often we live on autopilot, reacting rather than consciously creating. We wake up, scroll through our phones, go about our tasks, all while carrying the weight of unresolved emotions and unexamined beliefs. Our minds are often consumed by thoughts of what we fear or lack, and this energy feeds the very reality we wish to escape. Presence interrupts this cycle. It pulls us out of the mental haze and places us back into the seat of our power. It is in the present moment that we can see our lives clearly, and from this clarity, we can choose differently. But presence is not just a mental exercise. It is an energetic state. When we are present, our energy shifts, our breath slows, our body relaxes, and our mind clears. We tap into what can be described as a quantum field, a space of infinite potential where all possibilities exist simultaneously. In this field, our intentions are no longer diluted by fear or distraction. They become focused, magnetic, and capable of influencing the reality that unfolds around us. Have you ever noticed how when you're truly present and centered, even small actions seem to have a greater impact? That is because your energy is aligned, coherent, and powerful. There is a deeper layer to presence that often goes unrecognized. True presence is not just about being aware of what is happening externally, but about feeling deeply connected to your inner world, your body, emotions, and intuition. It's about listening, not just hearing, seeing, not just looking. It is a softening into life as it is, without the constant urge to control or manipulate. When we are fully present, we access an intelligence that surpasses the thinking mind, a quiet knowing that guides us with more precision than overthinking ever could. Think about a time when you felt deeply present, perhaps during a moment of awe in nature, or while looking into the eyes of someone you love. In those moments, time seems to stand still. Worries about the future dissolve, and a sense of peace arises naturally. That feeling of peace is not something that needs to be created. It is always there, waiting beneath the surface noise of our thoughts. The inner healer awakens in these moments because healing, at its core, is about returning to this natural state of presence. Ask yourself, how often do you allow yourself to simply be here, now? How much of your life is spent living in the past or the future, avoiding the only place where change and transformation are truly possible? Presence requires courage because it asks us to face ourselves without distraction, to meet our wounds and fears with open eyes. Yet it is in this courageous meeting that we reclaim our power. When you embrace presence as a way of being, life begins to feel different. You start to notice the subtle beauty of the ordinary, the sacredness in simple moments. Your energy no longer leaks into worries and regrets, and instead you find a wellspring of vitality within you. The quantum nature of presence means that every moment is a point of creation. Every breath, every thought, every feeling is an opportunity to choose alignment with the life you desire. And when you choose presence over distraction, you awaken a power that has always been yours. Presence is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is a practice, a gentle returning again and again. With every return, the inner healer grows stronger. The power you once believed was lost or outside of you begins to pulse vividly from within. And this power, your power, is enough to shift not only your inner world but the very reality that reflects back to you. If presence is the foundation, then the stories we tell ourselves are the architecture built upon it. The inner dialogue we carry, those subtle whispers of doubt, self-criticism, or hope, shapes our experience of life more than we often realize. For many, these stories have been inherited, passed down through family, culture, or society. We unknowingly carry scripts that were never ours to begin with. Beliefs that say we are not enough, that healing must be hard, or that happiness is reserved for someone else. Without noticing, these narratives become the invisible lens through which we view ourselves and the world, limiting what we believe is possible. The truth is, your inner dialogue is like a tuning fork that sets the vibration of your life. Every thought sends ripples into the field of possibility, calling forth experiences that match its frequency. When the inner narrative is filled with fear, lack, or self-judgment, we unconsciously invite those very patterns into our lives. But when we begin to reclaim the voice within, to speak to ourselves with compassion, love, and clarity, we shift the entire energetic blueprint of our reality. We have all seen this play out in real life. Think of someone you know who radiates confidence and kindness, not because they've had an easy life, but because they've learned how to shape their inner dialogue. Their energy is magnetic, their presence uplifting, and people are drawn to them, not because of what they do, but because of who they are being. They have learned that healing and transformation start from within, from the way they speak to themselves when no one else is listening. Real change often begins with a simple yet powerful question. What am I telling myself about this moment? If the answer is rooted in fear or limitation, it's an opportunity to rewrite the narrative. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect or denying our pain. It means holding space for what is real while choosing to see ourselves through the lens of possibility and worth. For example, instead of thinking, "I'll never be good enough," we can ask, "What if I am already enough? What if my value is not tied to what I do but to who I am?" This shift in dialogue, though small, is like planting seeds of transformation that over time grow into a new way of being. Our inner dialogue often stems from early experiences, moments when we were told we were too much, not enough, or unworthy. These moments imprint patterns on our subconscious, and over time, we come to mistake these patterns for truth. But they are not truth. They are echoes of old experiences, waiting to be seen and released. Healing the inner dialogue is not about erasing these memories, but about meeting them with presence, compassion, and the understanding that we are no longer that powerless child, that fragile version of ourselves. We are stronger, wiser, and infinitely more capable than the stories we've inherited. Consider a practical example. Imagine facing a challenge at work or in a relationship. The old narrative might say, "This always happens to me. I'm not capable of handling it." But what happens when you shift this narrative to, "This challenge is here to teach me something. I have the strength to grow through this"? Immediately, the energy of the situation changes. The problem might not vanish, but your perception, and therefore your experience, becomes empowered and expansive. Quantum philosophy suggests that reality is not fixed. It is fluid, shaped by the observer's consciousness. When your inner dialogue changes, so does the reality that unfolds around you. It is as if the universe is a mirror, reflecting back not just what you do, but who you believe yourself to be. If you hold a belief that you are unworthy, life will offer experiences to validate that story. But if you begin to believe in your innate worth, you will see doors open that you never knew existed. This shift requires practice, patience, and self-awareness. It is easy to fall back into old narratives when life becomes challenging. Yet each moment offers a chance to choose differently. We can ask ourselves, what story am I willing to live today? Am I living from fear or from love? These questions are not meant to judge, but to awaken, to remind us that we are the authors of our inner world, and by extension, our outer reality. Perhaps the most important part of reclaiming your inner dialogue is learning to cultivate self-compassion. For many of us, the harshest critic is not out there in the world, but within our own minds. We replay our mistakes, criticize our flaws, and hold ourselves to impossible standards. But the inner healer thrives in an atmosphere of compassion, not criticism. When we learn to speak to ourselves with the same kindness we would offer a friend, something profound begins to shift. We soften, we open, we heal. Ask yourself, what is the loudest voice in your mind right now? Is it one of love or fear? Is it helping you step into your true power, or is it keeping you small? Becoming aware of this voice is the first step. The next step is choosing over and over to create a new inner dialogue that aligns with the life you wish to live. If the stories we tell ourselves shape our reality, then the actions we take to embody those stories are the alchemy of self-healing. Healing is not only a shift in thought, but a full-body practice, an integration of mind, heart, and spirit into every aspect of our daily lives. It is not about adding more layers of doing or striving, but about peeling away what no longer serves, revealing the quiet truth that was there all along. This is where philosophy meets practicality, where insights become habits that breathe life into transformation. We often underestimate the power of simple practices. A few minutes of intentional breathing can reset the nervous system. A quiet walk in nature can dissolve mental fog and reconnect us to something greater than ourselves. Writing down the thoughts that weigh on us can free our minds from their grip. Healing begins when we create space for these small yet potent rituals. The inner healer awakens when we give ourselves permission to slow down, to listen, and to allow life's intelligence to flow through us without interference. One of the most transformative practices is learning to regulate our inner energy. We live in a world that constantly pulls our attention outward, bombarding us with noise, expectations, and information. It's easy to forget that we are energetic beings, deeply influenced by the frequencies we tune into. If we constantly dwell on fear, anger, or resentment, our energy field contracts, and our bodies respond with stress, tension, and fatigue. But when we shift toward gratitude, joy, and trust, our energy expands. Our cells respond differently. Our thoughts become clearer, and opportunities that once seemed invisible begin to reveal themselves. Try this experiment. For a single day, observe your inner state as if you were a scientist watching a fascinating field of study. Notice when you feel tightness or stress and trace it back to the thoughts you were thinking. Then, without judgment, consciously shift your focus to something you are grateful for or to a moment of stillness. Observe how your body responds. You may feel your breath deepen, your shoulders relax, and your mind clear. This is not magic. It is the natural response of the body aligning with a more harmonious frequency. Another powerful tool is visualization, not as a form of wishful thinking, but as an intentional act of aligning with the energy of what you desire. The mind does not distinguish between vividly imagined experiences and reality. Both create neural pathways that influence our emotions and behaviors. By visualizing ourselves as already healed, whole, and empowered, we begin to embody that reality. It is like tuning a radio to a specific frequency. When we align with the frequency of our desired life, we draw that life toward us through resonance. Real-life examples often illustrate this truth more than abstract concepts. Consider someone recovering from a difficult period in their life, perhaps a loss, an illness, or a heartbreak. At first, the pain feels overwhelming, the path forward unclear. But then, little by little, they begin to practice presence. They allow themselves to feel the pain without resisting it. They shift their inner dialogue from, "Why me?" to "What can I learn from this?" They begin small rituals, breathing exercises, meditation, journaling, and over time, their energy shifts. They start to feel lighter, more grounded. Their circumstances may not change overnight, but their inner world transforms, and eventually, the outer world begins to mirror this change. This alchemy is not about pretending we are never hurt or broken. It is about transforming the raw materials of our experience, the fear, the grief, the doubt, into wisdom, resilience, and strength. Just as alchemists of old sought to turn lead into gold, we turn our challenges into opportunities for growth. This process requires patience and courage, but the rewards are profound, a sense of inner freedom that no external circumstance can take away. Practical alchemy also involves the courage to let go. We cling to outdated identities, toxic relationships, and limiting habits because they feel familiar. But healing asks us to release what no longer aligns with who we are becoming. This release is not a loss, but a sacred offering to life itself, creating space for something new to emerge. Ask yourself, what are you still holding on to that is preventing you from stepping into your full power? What old story are you ready to set down so that you can walk forward unburdened? Finally, the practice of self-healing calls for consistent, gentle action. Healing is not a single event, but an ongoing dialogue with life. It's the willingness to return to presence when we drift, to choose compassion when the inner critic speaks, to align our energy with trust even when fear whispers in our ear. These small choices, repeated over time, create a life that feels whole, authentic, and deeply aligned. Healing is not a destination we arrive at, but an ongoing dance, a rhythm of becoming and unbecoming, of learning and unlearning. Just when we believe we have arrived at wholeness, life gently or sometimes forcefully reminds us that there is always more to uncover, more to embody. This is not a sign of failure, but of the infinite nature of growth. Each moment offers an invitation to step deeper into our own presence, to expand into the vastness of who we truly are. The journey of self-healing is not about perfection. It is about authenticity. It is about allowing ourselves to be fully human, messy, vulnerable, and beautifully imperfect, while also recognizing the divine intelligence that flows through us. When we embrace this paradox, we begin to see that healing is less about becoming someone else and more about remembering what has always been within us. We are not here to chase some ideal version of ourselves, but to fully inhabit the truth of who we are in this moment. Consider the way nature heals and renews itself. A forest does not rush to grow, it trusts the rhythm of the seasons. There are times of blossoming and times of shedding, and both are essential. Our lives, too, have seasons. There are moments when we feel expansive and aligned, and others when we feel lost or broken. But beneath all of it, there is a deeper current of life carrying us forward, whispering that even in our pain, we are growing, we are evolving, we are becoming. Quantum philosophy tells us that we are not separate from the universe but expressions of it, threads woven into a vast and interconnected tapestry of energy. Every thought, every intention, every act of presence sends ripples into this field. When we choose to heal ourselves, we are not only changing our own lives, we are contributing to the collective healing of humanity. Our presence, our energy, and our choices matter far more than we realize. One of the most profound realizations on this path is that healing is not linear. There will be days when we feel we are moving forward, and days when old patterns resurface. But even in these moments, we are never truly back at the beginning. Every experience adds depth to our understanding. Every challenge refines our ability to return to presence and compassion. It is all part of the dance of becoming, the endless unfolding of our own potential. Think about this. Where in your life do you resist the ebb and flow of this dance? Where do you demand that healing look a certain way or happen within a certain time frame? This resistance often causes more pain than the wound itself. But when we learn to trust the process, to let go of the need to control, we discover that life has its own timing, its own intelligence, guiding us toward what we truly need. In practical terms, embracing the infinite dance of becoming means committing to the simple practices that nurture our inner world. Moments of stillness, honest self-reflection, conscious breath, and heartfelt connection with others. It means noticing when fear or doubt arises and choosing, in that moment, to return to the frequency of trust. It means allowing ourselves to fall apart when we need to, knowing that every breakdown carries the seeds of breakthrough. Real-life transformation often happens in these ordinary moments, not in grand gestures. It happens when we forgive ourselves for the mistakes of the past, when we open our hearts to love again after pain, when we take one more step forward, even when we feel unsure. These small, courageous acts accumulate, weaving together the life we were always meant to live. You might ask yourself, what would it look like to live as if you were already whole? What choices would you make today if you truly believed that you have the power to create your reality? These questions are not abstract. They are invitations. Each choice we make, each thought, each breath is an opportunity to align with the healer within. As you continue on this path, remember that you are not walking it alone. The same intelligence that moves the stars and blossoms the flowers is moving through you. You are part of something vast and luminous, and every step you take toward your own healing illuminates the path for others. This is the true gift of awakening the inner healer. It ripples outward, touching lives in ways you may never see, but that matter deeply. The infinite dance of becoming is not about arriving anywhere. It is about embracing this moment fully and completely, knowing that here, right here, is where your power lies. When you live from this space of presence, love, and trust, you become not only the healer of your own life, but a source of healing for the world around you. The journey of awakening the inner healer is a reminder that our lives are not defined by the wounds we carry, but by the way we choose to meet them. We are not powerless. We are creators, alchemists, and visionaries of our own experience. Healing begins the moment we turn inward, not to fix what we think is broken, but to remember that nothing essential within us has ever been lost. The power of presence, the courage to rewrite our inner dialogue, and the willingness to align our energy with love over fear. These are not abstract ideas, but living practices that shape the way we experience every moment. As you move forward, notice how the smallest shift in awareness can create profound ripples in your life. What if every challenge you face was an invitation to deepen your connection with your own wisdom? What if every breath you took was a reminder that you are already whole? The path of self-healing is not something you walk alone. It is a collective awakening, a call to live with authenticity and purpose. If these words resonate, reflect on your own journey. Share your thoughts, subscribe for more explorations, and let your voice join this unfolding conversation of healing and empowerment.